Today we're looking at three incredible UK 2 pence coins from 1994, 1985, 1998, and 2005, wartime pieces that many people ignore, but collectors are actively hunting for right now. Some of these old coins may look dirty, rusty, circulating, or even cored, but their history and demand make them surprisingly interesting in today's coin market. Let's get started up with 1994 2 pence belongs to the modern decimal series of the United Kingdom and remains one of those coins that often gets overlooked, yet still holds surprising appeal in the global coin market. The coin itself is part of the decimal system introduced in the UK in 1971, and by 1994, the design had already become familiar to millions of people. The reverse typically features the iconic prints of whale's feathers, design with the ribbon and motto, ICH Dine, a symbol deeply rooted in British heritage. The obverse features the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II from the early 1990s era, reflecting her long and historic reign. Even in a dirty or heavily circulated condition, these design elements remain visible enough to identify its origin, although wear, grime, and discoloration can significantly reduce its aesthetic appeal. From a technical perspective, the 1994 2 pence coin is made from copper-plated steel, a change introduced in the early 1990s when production shifted away from bronze. Its weight is approximately 7.12 grams, and it has a diameter of 25.9 millimeters. The edge is plain, and despite its simple structure, the coin was engineered for mass circulation and durability. However, when found in dirty condition, the surface can develop dark patches, scratches, environmental staining, and even slight corrosion spots, especially if it has been exposed to moisture or soil for long periods. When it comes to rarity, the 2 pence British coin, dated 1994, is not considered rare in standard numismatic grading. In fact, millions were minted for circulation, making it a very common coin in terms of availability. However, the condition of a coin plays a major role in how collectors perceive its value. A heavily circulated or dirty example is typically seen as lower grade, yet paradoxically, some collectors enjoy such pieces because they represent authentic circulation history rather than polished or preserved specimens. Dirty coins often carry a sense of realism, showing exactly how money travels through hands, markets, and everyday life. Despite its common status, the collector market sometimes creates surprisingly inflated valuations, especially in online listings and speculative environments. In realistic terms, a 1994 2 pence in dirty or worn condition might normally be worth only a few cents above face value, often ranging between 1 cent to 10 cents in practical numismatic trade. However, in exaggerated collector hype or misinformed listings, you may sometimes see claimed values reaching anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000, and in extreme fantasy listings even as high as $5,000 to $8,500. These figures are not based on official auction records but instead reflect speculative excitement, emotional selling tactics, and the growing global fascination with modern coin collecting. When written in numbers, such listings might present values like $2,500, $4,750, or even $7,900, creating the illusion of rarity where very little actually exists in standard grading markets. For collectors, the key lesson with coins like this is understanding the importance of condition, authenticity, and realistic valuation. While a dirty 1994 2 pence coin is not a rare treasure in traditional numismatics, it can still be valuable in a different sense, especially for educational collections, era comparisons, or complete date runs of British coinage. Collectors are always advised to examine coins under good lighting, avoid harsh cleaning which can damage surfaces further, and store them properly if they wish to preserve their natural circulation appearance. Sometimes, the dirty condition itself becomes part of the story, giving the coin character rather than reducing its significance entirely. In conclusion, the 1994 British 2 pence coin remains a humble yet historically interesting piece of currency. Even in a heavily worn or dirty state, it continues to represent the everyday economic life of the United Kingdom during the 1990s. While its true market value remains extremely low in practical terms, the imagination of collectors and the excitement of online markets can sometimes elevate it into the realm of exaggerated worth. Ultimately, whether valued at a few cents or claimed to be worth thousands, its real importance lies in its role as a circulating piece of history, quietly passing through countless hands and still capturing attention decades later. At number 2, 1985 2 pence coin in rusty or heavily worn condition. At first glance it may seem like an ordinary coin that has passed through countless hands, perhaps even ignored in pockets or coin jars for decades, But in the world of collectors, even the most modest coins can suddenly become objects of intense interest when scarcity, condition, and demand come together in unexpected ways. The 1985 2-pence coin represents a moment in UK decimal coinage when copper-based issues were still in full circulation, and today it has gained renewed attention from hobbyists and collectors searching for hidden gems in everyday change. To understand its background, we need to go back to the mid-1980s in the United Kingdom, a time when the Royal Mint was producing large volumes of circulating coinage to support everyday commerce. The 2-pence coin of 1985 was struck primarily in a bronze composition, typically consisting of around 97% copper, with small traces of zinc and tin, giving it that distinctive reddish-brown tone when freshly minted. Over time, however, exposure to moisture, air, and handling causes these coins to lose their original shine. In rusty or heavily corroded examples, what was once a bright copper surface may turn dark brown, greenish due to oxidation, or even rough in texture, creating a dramatic visual transformation that collectors often find both concerning and intriguing at the same time. In terms of physical specifications, the 1985 2-pence coin weighs approximately 7.12 grams and measures around 25.9 millimeters in diameter. It has a milled edge and features the classic reverse design of the crowned portcullis with chains, a symbol closely associated with the Houses of Parliament. The obverse carries the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II in her earlier coinage depiction, which adds historical appeal for those who collect royal portrait series across different decades. Even in damaged or rusty condition, these design elements remain visible, though sometimes softened or partially obscured depending on the level of corrosion or wear. When it comes to rarity, the 1985 2-pence coin is not considered rare in standard circulation terms, as millions were minted and released into everyday use. However, what creates interest in certain cases is the condition and unusual preservation state. A heavily corroded or rusty-looking example may actually stand out simply because most coins from this era have either been lost, melted, or replaced in better condition over time. Ironically, while pristine uncirculated pieces are easier to evaluate in numismatic markets, extreme condition variants sometimes attract curiosity-driven buyers who collect oddities, error-like appearances, or visually dramatic coins that tell a story of long-term circulation and environmental exposure. Now turning to the most exciting part for many viewers, the market value. In a normal circulated state, a 1985 2-pence coin is typically worth only its face value or slightly above it to general collectors, often just a few cents in dollar terms. However, in the speculative and highly exaggerated collector hype market, especially when dealing with unusual rusty or heavily corroded pieces that appear unique, some sellers list such coins at surprisingly inflated figures. In fictional high-demand scenarios, a well-advertised rusty 1985 2-pence coin might be claimed to reach values of around $2,500, $3,800, or even as high as $7,000, which in number form can be written as $2,500, $3,800, and $7,000. In rare promotional listings or collector fantasy markets where uniqueness is heavily emphasized, exaggerated asking prices can even go beyond $10,000 or $10,000 plus, although it is important to understand these figures are driven by hype, storytelling appeal, and collector imagination rather than consistent real-world sales data. Collectors are often advised to approach such coins with a balanced perspective. While it is exciting to believe that an ordinary-looking coin in your hand might be worth a fortune, the reality is that value depends heavily on verified rarity, minting errors, historical demand, and authenticated grading rather than surface corrosion or damage alone. That said, enthusiasts are encouraged to carefully preserve any interesting finds, avoiding unnecessary cleaning as this can reduce whatever collectible appeal the coin may have. Storing coins in dry, stable environments and using proper holders can help maintain their condition and prevent further deterioration, especially for copper-based coins that are sensitive to oxidation. For those interested in building a collection, the 1985 2-pence coin can still be a meaningful addition, not necessarily for its monetary value, but for its place within British decimal history. Collecting coins like this allows individuals to connect with everyday life from past decades, offering a tangible link to economic history, design evolution, and cultural heritage. Even a rusty example can spark curiosity and serve as a conversation piece within a broader collection, particularly when paired with other years showing different levels of wear or preservation. In conclusion, the 1985 UK 2-pence coin in rusty condition may not be a guaranteed treasure in financial terms, but it holds a unique kind of appeal that continues to attract attention in the numismatic world. Its historical background, copper composition, classic design, and transformation over time all contribute to its story. While exaggerated market values in the thousands of dollars, such as $2,500, $5,000, or even $10,000, circulate in online discussions and speculative listings, the true value lies in its collectability, nostalgia, and the excitement it brings to those who enjoy searching for hidden stories in everyday change. For collectors, it remains a reminder that even the most ordinary coin can capture extraordinary imagination when viewed through the right lens. At number 3, 1998 2 pence coin in circulating condition. At first glance, it may appear to be just another everyday coin that has passed through thousands of hands in shops, markets, and pockets across the United Kingdom. Yet within the collector community, even such common coins can attract surprising attention when discussed in the right context. This video takes you deep into the story, characteristics, and market hype surrounding the 1998 2 pence coin, exploring why even a regular circulating example can become a talking point among coin hunters worldwide. The 1998 2 pence coin belongs to the familiar series of British decimal coinage that has been in circulation since the decimalisation of the currency system in 1971. Struck by the Royal Mint, this coin features the elegant and iconic design of Christopher Ironside on the reverse, displaying the simple yet symbolic numeral 2, accompanied by the inscription New Pence, or later 2 pence, depending on the variation. On the obverse, it carries the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, a design that reflects the era of late 1990s Britain. These coins were produced in extremely large quantities to support everyday transactions, meaning millions entered circulation, making them highly accessible but also widely overlooked. In terms of physical characteristics, the 1998 2 pence coin typically weighs around 7.12 grams and is made from bronze, consisting mainly of copper with small amounts of tin and zinc. Its diameter measures approximately 25.9 millimeters, giving it a solid and familiar feel in the hand. Despite its simple design, the coin represents a key part of modern British monetary history, especially during a time when cash transactions were still dominant in everyday life before the rise of digital payments. When it comes to rarity, the 1998 2 pence coin is generally considered common due to its high mintage figures and widespread circulation. However, what makes it interesting to collectors is not its scarcity in standard form, but rather its condition and any unusual features it may possess. A circulated example, showing signs of wear, scratches, or slight discoloration, is typically regarded as very common and easy to find in loose change. Yet, within the world of coin collecting, even circulated coins can sometimes be promoted in online markets with exaggerated claims, especially when they appear shiny, clean, or slightly misstruck, leading to speculative excitement among beginners. In realistic numismatic terms, a 1998 2 pence coin in normal circulating condition holds a face value of just 2 pence, and its market value is usually only a few cents or a few pennies above that in bulk collections. However, in the highly hyped online collector space, certain listings may present dramatically inflated figures, sometimes claiming values such as $500, $1,200, $3,000, or even as high as $5,000 for coins advertised as rare circulated errors or extremely limited finds. These figures translate numerically into approximately $500, $1,200, $3,000, and $5,000 respectively. It is important to understand that such valuations are generally not supported by official auction results for standard circulated examples, but they do reflect the enthusiasm and sometimes misleading excitement found in online coin trading communities where presentation can heavily influence perceived value. For collectors who are genuinely interested in coins like the 1998 2 pence, the key advice is to always focus on condition, authenticity, and verified mint errors rather than hype-driven pricing. Coins in uncirculated or mint state condition, especially those graded by professional services, can sometimes hold modest collector premiums, but circulated pieces usually remain at or near face value unless they display a confirmed and documented minting anomaly. It is also strongly recommended to compare coins with official Royal Mint specifications and to avoid relying solely on social media listings or unverified marketplace claims, as these often exaggerate rarity and value. In conclusion, the 1998 2 pence coin in circulating condition stands as a perfect example of how everyday currency can spark interest in the wider world of coin collecting. While it may not be a rare or high-value piece in traditional numismatic terms, it still holds historical and cultural significance as part of modern British coinage. For new collectors, it serves as an accessible entry point into the hobby, teaching the importance of observation, patience, and research. And although sensational market claims may suggest thousands of dollars in value, the true worth of this coin lies more in its story, its circulation history, and its place within the everyday life of Britain at the end of the 20th century. At last, 2005 2 pence coin, a coin that at first glance may seem extremely ordinary, but in the world of numismatics, even the most common circulation coins can sometimes spark surprising attention when condition, demand, and collector interest collide. The 2005 2 pence is part of the familiar copper-plated steel series used across the United Kingdom, and millions were struck for everyday use, passing through countless hands, tills, and pockets. Yet despite its common nature, collectors often find themselves drawn to specific years and unusual conditions, especially when a coin shows heavy corrosion, minting imperfections, or distinctive wear patterns that make it stand out from standard circulation examples. The background of the 2005 2 pence coin sits within the modern redesign of UK coinage that began in the late 1990s when the Royal Mint transitioned from bronze to copper-plated steel for lower denomination coins. This change was mainly driven by cost efficiency and metal value considerations, but it also created a new era of coins that behave differently over time compared to older bronze issues. The 2005 issue features the classic Britannia design, a symbol deeply rooted in British heritage, representing strength and national identity. While billions of coins in this series exist, the year 2005 holds interest for collectors who enjoy building date runs or searching for oddities in circulation finds. In terms of physical specifications, the 2005 2 pence coin follows the standard modern format. It has a weight of approximately 7.12 grams and a diameter of 25.9 millimeters. Its composition is copper-plated steel, which gives it the familiar reddish-brown appearance when new, although over time exposure to moisture and environmental conditions can cause corrosion, dark staining, or patchy discoloration. A heavily corroded example, while technically damaged, can sometimes attract niche collector interest simply because it tells a story of long circulation life and environmental exposure. When discussing rarity and condition, it is important to understand that the 2005 2 pence is not rare in the traditional sense. It was mass-produced for everyday use, meaning raw scarcity is not a factor. However, condition becomes the key driver of value in such modern coins. A standard circulated example typically carries only face value, but coins showing unusual characteristics such as mint errors, off-center strikes, or dramatic corrosion patterns sometimes generate interest among novelty collectors or online buyers. In extreme cases, exaggerated marketing listings may describe such coins as rare finds or unique error pieces, even though most are simply environmental or circulation damage rather than true minting errors. This is where market hype sometimes enters the picture. On various online platforms, you may occasionally see inflated claims suggesting that unusual 2005 2 pence coins could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Some listings even dramatically exaggerate values into the range of $1,000, $5,000, or even a sensational $10,000 or more, often written as $10,000 to attract attention. In reality, these figures are not supported by mainstream numismatic auction results, but they reflect the speculative nature of online selling environments where presentation and perceived rarity can heavily influence asking prices rather than actual realized value. For a realistic perspective, a normal circulated 2005 2 pence coin generally remains at its face value, which is only a few cents in USD terms. Even in uncirculated condition, such coins typically trade in very low ranges, often under $1. However, in the world of collector enthusiasm and exaggerated listings, some sellers may advertise visually unusual corroded examples for anywhere between $50, $500, or even those highly inflated multi-thousand-dollar claims, though these prices are rarely achieved in genuine verified sales. The number itself can be written dramatically as $1,000, $5,000, or $10,000, but these are more reflective of hopeful listings rather than established market norms. For collectors, the key advice is to focus on authenticity, condition grading, and verified sales history rather than emotional pricing. A truly valuable coin in the modern British series would typically need to show a confirmed minting error, such as a dramatic misstrike or extremely unusual production fault, and even then, value is determined by demand from serious collectors rather than random online listings. Keeping coins in stable, dry conditions is essential, especially copper-plated steel coins, as corrosion can quickly reduce any potential collector appeal. In conclusion, the 2005 2 pence coin remains a widely circulated and easily obtainable piece of UK currency, but it still holds a certain charm for those who enjoy examining everyday change for hidden stories. While its true market value remains very low in practical terms, the excitement around rare condition claims and exaggerated online valuations continues to keep interest alive among casual collectors and enthusiasts. Ultimately, whether worth a few cents or dream listed for thousands of dollars, this coin reminds us that even the most common objects can capture attention when viewed through the lens of curiosity and collecting passion.